I think, look, I've been on a continuous journey from the age of, I think, 18, when my brother told me to question the religion and understand why you believe in what you believe. And I think every Ramzan, I try to make it a habit that I try to learn something new. I try to kind of get myself closer to God. I try to get to that end game. The end game for me is to get to heaven. So for me, it's always been about kind of self-reflection. It's about challenging myself. It's about making sure that I use Ramzan to the utmost. But it doesn't end there. It continues. Salat, Quran, listen to Huzoor's Friday sermons, reading the books of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. These are all things that I'm trying to kind of get to and achieve, and hopefully, inshallah, I get to a point where I'm consistent and regular in all of them.
Islam is a rational religion, and its teachings have deep wisdom behind them. Nothing in these beautiful teachings is without purpose, and the timing of Ramadan is a perfect example of this.
So one really cool aspect about Ramadan is the fact that it is based on the lunar calendar, and many people ask why that is. And if you take a moment to look at and understand the philosophy and the wisdom behind why Ramadan is based on the lunar calendar, it becomes quite obvious. Because of the fact that it's on the lunar calendar, the days of Ramadan for each individual person around the world, they change as the years go on. If they were based on the solar calendar, you would, for example, always have a 15-hour or 16-hour fast in one part of the world. But because of the fact that the days change, the duration of your fast changes as well. Now, this is easy to understand for one person. When we look at the world as a whole, different people in different parts of the world experience shorter fasts and longer fasts as well. So not only do they experience different levels of difficulty, it also makes it easy for them to be able to do the general practices in life, such as looking after their crops or harvests, or understanding how their body functions and the different challenges that a short fast has compared to a long fast. So actually, this is a way in which the whole ummah, the whole world, actually unifies and gets to have the same experience of a long fast and a short fast at some point during their life.
It is incumbent upon every Muslim to understand their faith, and what better way to do so than by reading the books of the promised Messiah alayhi salam.
Hazrat Khalifat Masih Salih Rahimahullah Ta'ala stated on one occasion, and especially he was addressing Khudam Lamdiya, that if the Khudam read 5 pages per day of the books of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, they would have read 150 pages in a month and 1,825 pages in a year. So that's why it's essential for us to ensure that we do give some time to reading the books of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam. We know that there are various different issues that we face domestically, socially, and also globally. So all those answers have been catered for within these books. For example, we know that mental health is very prevalent in this day and age. So within the books of the promised Messiah ﷺ, we find answers how we can tackle mental health. So again, the books of the promised Messiah ﷺ are not something that should be stacked on the shelves within our home, but rather we should read them again and again. And fundamentally, they are an elaboration of the Holy Quran, of the sayings of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. So if we desire to understand Islam in its beautiful and pristine teachings, then we must read the books of the promised Messiah ﷺ.
We are fortunate in this day and age to have the capability to take them with us on our phones, and even while our hands and eyes are occupied, there are audiobooks available. Let's listen to an extract from the philosophy of the teachings of Islam.
Experience also shows that different types of food affect the intellect and the mind in different ways. For instance, careful observation would disclose that people who refrain altogether from eating meat gradually suffer a decline of the faculty of bravery. They lose courage and thus suffer the loss of a divinely bestowed praiseworthy faculty. Conversely, those who are given to a diet consisting mainly of meat and eat very little of greens suffer a decline of meekness and humility. Those who adopt the middle course develop both types of moral qualities.
Back in 1896, the promised Messiah ﷺ provided insight into the effects of different types of food on our minds. Since then, scientists have explored this subject, as this TED-Ed video explains.
Proteins and amino acids, the building block nutrients of growth and development, manipulate how we feel and behave. Amino acids contain the precursors to neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that carry signals between neurons, affecting things like mood, sleep, attentiveness, and weight. They're one of the reasons we might feel calm after eating a large plate of pasta, or more alert after a protein-rich meal. The complex combinations of compounds in food can stimulate brain cells to release mood-altering norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. But getting to your brain cells is tricky, and amino acids have to compete for limited access. A diet with a range of foods helps maintain a balanced combination of brain messengers and keeps your mood from getting skewed in one direction or the other.
Reading the books of the promised Messiah ﷺ will undoubtedly lead to us better navigating life and becoming better Muslims, better people. But where do you begin? This very question was asked in an Athfal Mulaqat with Huzoor Aqdas.
By the grace of Allah, we have so many books of the promised Messiah ﷺ, but they can be quite difficult to understand. Huzoor, what would you recommend is a good book for young people to read first?
You are quite right that there are quite a number of Hazrat Masih's books, and most of them, they are very much difficult to understand. But there are some books which are easy to understand, right? Such as Ark of Noah, and even Hazrat Masih has said that my book, Haqiqatul Wahi, is in a very easy language and you can understand it, and it has been translated also, I think. So you can read these books. But just to develop and create interest in the books of Hazrat Masih, you should first start reading from the passages of those books which are of your interest. And you can see the content list. And for that, even the Jamaat has also made this easy for you by printing and some selected excerpts and passages of the book from the books of the Hazrat Masih in the form of Essence of Islam, right? So they are in 5 volumes, and that covers different topics. So you can just take the book and see the topic of your interest and then read it. By doing this, you will develop and create interest in reading the books of Hazrat Masih. And at the same time, you will increase your knowledge also, what Hazrat Masih has said or he wanted us to understand with regards to our religion, with regards to our spiritual enhancement, spiritual level, and with regards to our knowledge and wisdom.
So there you have it, and you can find links to each of those books in the description below. Let's hear how some of you approach reading the books of the promised Messiah ﷺ.
To understand the teachings of Islam properly, we have to go through the promised Messiah ﷺ and the Khulafa. So by going through the books of the promised Messiah ﷺ, I feel my understanding is deepened much further.
I read the books of the Promised Messiah on my mobile phone a lot because it's very easy to do that these days, just on PDF Reader, and it means while you're traveling, wherever you are, even when you're at home or whatever you're doing, you can read the books of the Promised Messiah and you can scroll through them and you can keep them all on one device.
Again, this is something that I always tend to put off and think, I'll start from next week, I'll start next Monday, but it doesn't come. Currently, I am reading the book of the year for Khudam, which is the 10 Conditions of Birth. So inshallah, I'm getting through that in a couple of days, and then from there, just pick another book.
For a start, we can say that these small booklets, even the Markaz has published the selected sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, we can start from them. And then there are certain other small books like Noah's Ark or even our teachings.
From a young age, I started reading the very small booklets, and they really opened up my eyes, and they were filled with a lot of knowledge and insight, and those books actually motivated me to practice Islam better, and it showed me the wisdom and the reasons behind all the teachings of Islam, and that kind of then motivated me to read the bigger books and the more complex books.
It's a very long-term process. You have to think there's approximately around 80 books. In English, I think there's around 60, 63. So it's a long-term journey. You don't have to rush through them. If you just read a few pages, let's say 5-10 pages every day, and slowly your stamina for reading increases, and you'll be able to read more and more.
Some great practical approaches. But when is the best time to immerse ourselves in reading and prayer?
One thing we see in the Holy Quran is this repeated mention of standing up in the latter part of the night and praying, or praying in different parts of the night. And many people ask the question as to why there is this emphasis on the night. Now, let's not kid ourselves. Of course, prayer is something that we do at all junctures of the day. All the time we're praying. Even if you're asking for a shoelace, or you're about to have food, or you're about to go on a journey, whatever it is, we remember Allah the Almighty to seek those blessings. But night is one of those special times, and we can all understand this. That namaz or that dua that we do at night when there is absolute silence, when there is nothing to look at, no one to speak to, and you have that time where you can just sit down and focus. That's a very special time. The other thing is the fact that many people, of course, I say many people, everyone is asleep at night time. And so when you're waking up in the middle of the night, to be able to wake up and go and pray to Allah the Almighty and seek blessings, you're doing something out of your comfort zone. And as Huzoor has repeatedly mentioned, it's going out of your comfort zone and really striving hard for something that earns you those results, both in the world and also in spirituality as well. So getting up in the middle of the night, forsaking your bed, forsaking the warmth and the comfort, and actually getting up and requesting Allah the Almighty for His help and for His support, that not only is something powerful for ourselves, but also it enables us to focus in on what's important and get rid of all the distractions around us.
So we've learned why, how, and when to read the books of the Promised Messiah ﷺ, and all the links you need are in the description below. Make sure you like and share this video, and as always, we leave you with some interesting answers to what you have for Sehri. We'll be back with the final episode next week, inshallah.
I have something called talbina. It's something the Holy Prophet ﷺ recommended you should have. Not necessarily for Sehri, just in general, it's good for you. So it's barley, and you have to cook it over a long time. Mix it with milk, dates and honey, and it sustains you for a very long time, and you don't feel hungry throughout the day. So the Prophet ﷺ, it's a hadith, I think, he mentioned that talbina is good for depression, maybe also for anxiety. I'm not too sure if I remember correctly. So that's something I would recommend Khuddam brothers to look into.
This morning I had a quarter of a naan with 2 eggs and some yogurt.
Today I had something called as kanji, which is a South Indian delicacy that people have in Ramadan, which is basically a sort of something like khichdi, but it is South Indian flavored spiced rice broth, if I can call it that.
Usually I just have a bowl of porridge with fruit, honey, nuts. Keeps me going.